minutes late. It is now 7:02 PM, Tuesday, March 18, 2025. I call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Arlandu,
Here.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Present.
Meadows,
Present.
Sliger,
Present.
Mathis, Locke,
Here.
Hilbert,
Present.
And Pledge of Allegiance. Sue, would you please lead us?
Yes.
Sneak attack.
No, I do. I
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Tom, are there any things, I already know this. Tom, would you like to explain some things we're going to change or add or remove from the agenda today?
Yes, so board typically, board members give their committee reports as board liaisons during item 4.3. In some of our processing and in some individual board member questions, we had talked about, sometimes our board meetings have a duplicative kind of conversation about board committee reports and then administration also reporting on committees. So I'm recommending to Board President Meadows that we take a look at moving 4.3 tonight and for future agendas to section 7 under reports to the board. And then there, board member liaisons and the administration can talk about committee work all at the same section so that it's all in one place. And then a part of what we'll be able to do then on agendas is provide in a report anything that's requiring board notice from the administration about anything that might be pertaining to something that's alluded to in policy. And we'd be able to place it there for you. So there's some transparency, more transparency to the community where there's a written record and documentation of that item. And then the second item would be
6.2.
6.2. My apologies, that was accidentally mislabeled on the agenda for consent. It should have been closed session minutes, not board meeting session minutes, right? So it looks repetitive to 6.1. So in good faith to the community, instead of asking you to amend the title tonight, then vote on it, what I'm recommending is we will put it back on the agenda for next month, but have the appropriate title to it and take action then.
Anybody have any objections to anything you brought up today?
No.
Okay, so we will be making the adjustment to move item 4.3, effectively removing it from our current, sort of, and future agendas, and we'll be picking up committee updates under what will become 7.4 today and henceforth. And then secondly, any issues associated with removing consent item 6.2 from the agenda? No? Okay. So moved, as it were. Thank you. All right, celebrating success, BHS College and Career Counselors. So this month, we're celebrating efforts and success of the College and Career Counselors of Batavia High School. Last month, during the student liaison report, they mentioned all the college tours and career exploration events they participated in. So we want to learn more and join us this evening's Paige Buttles, College and Career Counselor, and Marta Mashman. Did I butcher that? Sorry, close.
You did great.
Assistant Principal, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name's Paige Buttles. I'm one of the high school counselors at Batavia High School. For the last 6 years, I've worked at BHS as the college and career counselor. So I brought a handout, and Holly has up here too, our college and career counseling. So just to kind of give you a brief overview of the college and career programming that we are doing at Batavia High School. Just to kind of start, here is linked our PACE, which is the post-secondary and career expectations. And this is a framework that provides students with a robust college and career programming to help them with their post-secondary planning. So as I walk through and share with you what we do at our high school to help provide our students with these experiences, I just wanted to preface with this that it's all tied to standards that the Illinois State Board of Education and other entities have worked together to create. So if we were to move forward, to begin, we provide students with college career programming lessons at each grade level. in these, essentially students are taking career inventories, figuring out which careers are a good fit for them, teaching them how to do research to figure out how much money they would make in those types of careers, the levels of education. Also teaching students like what types of education are opportunities for them, such as trade school, community college, four-year college, higher levels of education, associated costs, and then how long they take as well. Students will also, during junior year, do more of like a college match where they figure out what trade schools, community colleges, or four-year colleges are a good fit for them based on like their personal preferences. Students also will identify classes, clubs, and activities that match with their career interests. You know, big picture, our hope is that students gain as many experiences while they're in high school to see what's a good fit for them. As they learn more about themselves and careers, that those ideas may shift and change, but just the hope is to give them as much exposure as possible. We host several career guest speakers. Beyond searching on the internet, talking with people, we encourage students to gain internships, part-time jobs. Some of our career events will connect students with local community partners, as you can see in some of these images. We're bringing in typically 15 to 20 professionals within different career fields to connect with students in small groups. And you can see there's a lot of engagement. We've moved away from traditional career days where people are just talking to a classroom and trying to give students those smaller experiences. So here are some of those career cluster type of events that we host. On the next page, if you would go forward, we do aim to support students in all post-secondary endeavors. We tend to have students, about 60 to 70% of our students are looking at four-year college beyond high school. 20 to 30% of BH students are typically matriculating to community college. And the other is usually a mix of the military, the workforce, or trade programs. We do host Military Day once per semester at BHS, where we invite all military branches to come connect with students. As our students would probably say, you'll see a lot of chin-ups and push-ups on those days, and also that small group interaction. On the next slide, you'll see a bit about community college. We tend to visit Waubonsie Community College probably 4 to 5 times each year. Twice is for students who plan to go to community college, whether to start in a career program or to get their associates or with the plans or planning to transfer. We also take a few career or like related field trips to Waubonsie. This year we took an early childhood education field trip, and they also open up a CTE open house where students can learn about careers in welding, HVAC, machine tool technology. On the next slide is a bit to show students about careers directly going into the workforce beyond high school. Valley's, which is a local organization, they are out of Waubonsie Community College. They host several career events, and we tend to take students on field trips to an apprenticeship expo, so students who might be learning about or interested in learning about the trades beyond high school. Typically, once or twice a semester, we're going to a local manufacturing company, so students can see like how things are created, the engineering, and then also like the machine tool technology part of that. Last year, we went to the Graceful Ordinary, and they created a panel for students to learn about careers in culinary, pictures of our CTE open house, and some of our kiddos who signed for the CTE open house day. They were just indicating they wanted to go into a career program at Waubonsie, and these boys were all going into manufacturing. They were in our manufacturing cohort that year. On the next page is our four-year college events, and there are many. We host about 100 colleges per year in a format that we call college panels, where students can hear from 10 to 13 colleges in 1 hour. We take students to Waubonsie for a senior college boot camp that we've led the initiative on, and that's a regional event for usually about 300 high schools or high schoolers from 12 different area high schools, and that's hosted at Waubonsie. So our students can learn about college admissions, insider tips, essays, and they also get their college essay reviewed by these college experts who work at different institutions. Next slide. We also take students on a variety of different visits. Dorit, you're probably up there somewhere. We've been to many different colleges in the last couple of years, NIU, Northeastern, Aurora, Augustana. We partner with West Aurora and Yorkville High School for a large-scale college and career event, and that was just a couple of weeks ago. Usually brings in around 1,000 people. From Batavia, typically 100 to 150. So yeah, we also go to a college fair at AU every year. So lots of different things to support our students exploring four-year college as well. And if you're curious, which I'm sure many of you are, we have a college and career calendar, so you can check that out for more information. I would invite you to attend any of our events as well to see for yourself just kind of the impact that this has on our students. We post things on our social media accounts, lots of resources on our counseling and advising website, and you could always reach out to me with questions as well. And then I have my school counseling team listed here. We all work together to create these events and to get students these experiences. And they are amazing human beings, so you could reach out to them too. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right, public comment. Welcome to the meeting of the Board of Education. If anyone wishes to address the board this evening, please see our recording secretary to submit a form for addressing the board. Please put your full name and address on the form. Do we have any tonight?
We do not.
I will, as usual, try to skip the long parable I have to write or read. All right, next is BPS Partners, BEA, Drew.
Hi, board. How's everyone doing?
Good.
All right. So I work at the high school at Page, and I went to, how many weeks ago was that? The career, in the BFAC, and it's fantastic. If you ever get an opportunity to go next time she does it, it's a really cool thing. There was a former student that actually spoke, and that was probably the best part of the day, because it kind of shows you what that hard work does. It pays off, and it helps kids find what they want to do. All right, it's still a few weeks away, and the next month's regular board meeting isn't until April 23rd, but I wanted to remind all of you that April 4th is National School Librarian Day, which is also part of School Library Month. This day recognizes the professionals who keep our school libraries up and running. Our libraries are the heartbeat of our schools. They are safe spaces, bastions of inclusivity, and sources of inspiration, curiosity, and imagination. I still remember the joy on my son's face when he brought home his first book from H.C. Storm. It was about gemstones, I think, or something. He was really excited about it. But my point is, libraries are magical. The BEA is incredibly grateful for all of our LRC directors in the district, as I know you are as well. Tonight, you'll be voting on whether to approve bids for library improvements at Batavia High School and Rotolo Middle School. And I ask that as you consider your vote, you also think about all of the ways that we can best support the LRC directors in our district so that they can continue providing the invaluable support that our LRC directors offer. So on April 4th, don't forget to thank a school librarian for their hard work and dedication to the students of our school district. Additionally, last week, Dan Renz, Sarah Barrett, Todd Swanson, Jeff Thomas, and I attended the Illinois Education Association Representative Assembly, along with 1,100 public educators from across the state. One of the most inspiring aspects of this conference each year is knowing that every corner of our state is filled with educators dedicated to supporting students and public education, even in the face of adversity. Experiencing that sense of solidarity, is powerful, and it is a reminder that fighting for and supporting strong public schools is a moral obligation, and it shouldn't be a partisan issue. That's why we in the BEA will continue to work in good faith with anyone who is committed to lifting up every one of our students, regardless of who they are or where they come from, and ensuring that educators have the necessary support and resources to do their jobs. And last but not least, in the spirit of supporting public education, a heartfelt thank you to everyone that came to the BEA Tribute Night. We raised $3,900 for our scholarship, which is, for us, that's really good. Yeah, we can applaud that. Yeah, that's good. Which will go to 2 graduating high school seniors pursuing careers in education and the vocational trades. It was a lot of fun. Let's do it again next year. On a more personal note, the highlight of my day so far, before I wrap up here, was seeing Kevin Boderman. I have not seen Kevin Boderman since December of last semester. Susan Thorson is the IEA Uniserv director for the BEA and BESPA. She's basically like our direct connection to the state union. And I've said this before, she said it best about Kevin. She said, Kevin Boderman is a force. And you're a really important part of our educational community in this town. I'm so happy to see you doing well. You're my brother. Go Bulldogs. Happy Women's History Month. Don't forget to vote. Early voting for local elections is happening right now. Solidarity forever with our brothers and sisters in BESPA. Good night and good luck.
All right, next is BESPA. Representative Kevin Bowerman, and I was gonna say some very nice things to you, but I can't hold a candle to what he just said, so
That's fine.
ditto is what I'm gonna go with.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thing you do, and I'm glad to see you here.
And you have no idea, all of you, how good it is for me to see all of you again. And although it is late, I hope you'll allow me to say Happy New Year to every one of you. It's, as I said, late, but it is truly heartfelt. And BESPA's report I will try to keep brief tonight for several reasons. But as you know, BESPA's focus really this month and actually leading up to this month is our contract and bargaining talks with administrators and a few representatives from the board. And that effort is, on BESPA's side, is led by Laura Vasillo, who I need to pay special note to. Laura is our vice president, but when my medical situation came along, Laura did not hesitate, stepped up into a role that she did not seek, did not ask for, but has been serving as acting president for BESPA in that time. And although I have returned to my duties at Rotolo because of my long absence, Laura agreed to stay on to lead the talks and the BESPA team during those talks. There was really no practical reason or way that I could return to handle those. So I really want to recognize Laura for her work and during these talks. The team is also led by Jillian Thorud, our treasurer, who is, with her organizing and technical skills, has made a huge difference in our effort. And of course, Sharon Witowski, our secretary, who plays an invaluable role in representing the voices of our paraprofessionals. And so we certainly appreciate her work on that. That's the executive board and their leadership and the bargaining team. But of course, the bargaining team itself is made up of other voices in the group that we represent, which includes secretaries, maintenance, custodians, and the campus monitors in the team. I, of course, am not directly involved in the talks, but I have received general updates. And from what these very general updates have related to me, because I can't go into details, is that the talks have been very positive, and the bargaining team is very pleased with where things stand as of this morning. So that's good news for all of us at BESPA. Now, in addition to the contract talks, BESPA members continue their activities on the various committees that the district has regarding planning, RAC, insurance. And for me, that meant participation in this past weekend's Batavia inter-school council meeting on Saturday. It was also the last BIC meeting for the school year, but I always find these meetings very informative, and this one was no different. Brad gave us an update on the district's policy and the formation of that regarding bullying. And when you sit in on this and hear the details, you really get an opportunity. I work with this issue in support of the deans at Rotolo Middle School, but when you get an opportunity to hear the overview district-wide, you really get an appreciation of the scope and the challenges, not only the district face, the parents and the community building administrators have with this issue, but there is a good team working on it, and we have a lot to look forward to in meeting this challenge. So those are the big things that BESPA has been working on, particularly the last month or so. But beyond these items, BESPA's members continue to keep busy doing what we do best, which is supporting the district students, teachers, administrators, and its operations. So that really sums up the report that I have for you tonight. Given my circumstances, I will not be staying around after this. I thank you, and I hope you'll understand that. But by this time of night, my batteries start to run low. But I thank you again, and I look forward to being back in April to give another update on where BESPA, its activities and what we're up to on the district's behalf. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, next student ambassadors, Zara, Dorit, Grace, and Kaya.
That went down.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. It's just us three today. As far as lots of things happening at Batavia, I always love to take on the sports because there's so much energy going on in that part of Batavia. I think there was baseball game starting up. I think they actually had a game today. Against Glenbard West, so that's pretty cool. Soccer also had a game today, girls soccer. I think they're facing Bartlett. Lots of things happening, and crazy thing I want to mention is we every year Batavia hosts Distance Madness, which is one of the biggest meets in Illinois for track and field, and this is specifically for distance. So we hosted that I think last week, and it was insane. About I think 110 schools come out, so it's packed in there. So many insane athletes. Shout out to I think Franchi Benelli, who got 3rd in the 2-mile. Avery Hacker, who got 5th in the 2-mile. So we've got some great athletes at Batavia doing some great things. So if you ever want to come out, there's also a conference happening this Saturday and this Friday. Boys are going this Friday, girls are on Saturday. We always bring the energy, so it's great.
And then I really want to talk about a big success that we had last week, Batavia Rock the Runway. I didn't get the chance to attend the show, but I know it went really amazing. I saw the videos, and there was so much creativity in this. It was actually, like, mind-blowing. I want to give a shout-out to Lily Desmond, who won 1st place with the theme being balance. I was also told that dress was made out of bicycle. I don't know how she did that, but that's so amazing. And then another person I want to give a shout-out to is Rachel Ray, who won People's Favorites, and many other designers who won the awards. Very congratulations, all of them. And also shout out to Ms. Karp for putting the production team and everyone who helped her. I know there's a lot of work that goes into that. And then 2 other amazing things that happened this month was that Student Council attended the IMSA 2025 Youth Summit and the Duquesne Activity Student Leadership Conference, which are really good experience for students to learn about leadership, career opportunities, and learn about social media skills, just many great things for like success. And I also want to give a great shout out to the college and career counseling, because I know that really helped me learning about colleges, and it actually helped me learn about what field I want to go into, and I know a lot of students really appreciate it, so thank you so much. We love you guys. And yeah.
And then 2 other clubs to shout out. We have Youth in Government, which is on the far left. This weekend, so on Thursday, they're heading down to Springfield to debate their bills, which is really exciting. We're really proud of them. We'll see how that goes. You can get an update next meeting. And then Key Club a couple weeks ago went down with Miss Heim, who is an English teacher at the high school, to Springfield as well. And we had some people run for office, and one of our students was elected onto the district executive board, which we're really proud of her. And then we have 2 other students who are serving on the district board, which we're really excited. And we're sending members off to international convention pretty soon to continue running for offices and experiencing how to get more involved with leadership and service. Key Club is mostly a service organization. You'll see volunteers throughout the community, but it's also really focused on leadership, and so that's what we were all training in at Springfield. And then on the next slide, we have music. Kaya is at Showtime, so a lot of the pictures are there. That's our little RMS music combo. So they have their choir groups and the high school choir groups all performing together, which is super exciting. So she will be here back next meeting, probably to update a bit more, but that's where a lot of people are. And then for spring break, we have Batavia bands going to New York City, which we're super excited for them. It's going to be a great bonding experience, and we'll see how that goes. All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Great. All right, as mentioned before, item 4.3 is we're moving those to committee updates in section 7 of the agenda, so hold your horses, folks. So that will be the last time we have that 4.3. Have a good night, guys. All right, item 5, the board is going to go into closed session. Our meeting will continue, and there will be action items after the closed meeting, you're welcome to stay, but if you decide to leave, we want to thank you for coming this evening. So the time is 7:26, and I will entertain a motion to move into closed session as allowed under the Open Meetings Act for the purposes of Exception 5 ILCS 120/2C1. Moved by Raquel, second by Sue, I think. Cindy, please take a roll call vote.
Arlandu,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Steiger,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Kilber,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas.
Yes.
You. We shall be back, folks. Is 7:34, and we have returned to open session. Cindy, please take the roll.
Gilbert,
Present.
Bach,
Here.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Present.
Arlandu,
Here.
Meadows,
Present.
Steiger,
Present.
Mathis.
You. All right, consent agenda. According to our board policy, we designate a portion of the agenda as a consent agenda for those items that do not require extensive discussion before board action. These items are generally routine and recurring and can be grouped together for efficiency. Steve, would you like us to walk us through it tonight?
Absolutely. 6.1 is the approval of the February 18th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. 6.3 is our monthly personnel report. 6.4 is our monthly approval of payroll and bills. 6.5 is the destruction of our closed session recordings from August 22nd, 2023. 6.6 is our donations. We'd like to thank City of Batavia, BAF, Louise White PTO, the Illinois Reading Council, Batavia Youth Athletics, and Beefy for all of their generous donations. 6.7 is our textbook on display. 6.8 is the Fox Valley Career Center intergovernmental agreement. 6.9 is our IHS renewal for 2025-26. 6.10 is the approval of the BHS marching band overnight trip. 6.11 is the approval of the elementary school supply purchases. 6.12 is our special ed contracts. And finally, 6.13 is the approval of our consent agenda.
And you flew right through, but you skipped over 6.2, right? Because that is no longer
did.
a part of it. Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a couple questions. So on 6.7, the AP textbook. So this is an AP textbook. So what is the procedure to update the textbooks? Like, in order to be an AP course, does the AP governing body tell us, hey, you have to have this edition or later in order for it to be acceptable, or?
Good question. You have to go through a process of submitting your syllabus to the College Board. And there are certain texts that are AP approved that match the curriculum that they put out. So the high school maintains like a rotational list. So every year somebody comes up for review. Sometimes they're like, no, I'm good. Other times there's like a curriculum change by the College Board, so they would need to like get bumped up on the list. So they maintain a list that they go through to update the AP textbooks.
And it's a little bit kind of on the subject but off. So, and I see, because I think this was 2008 and we are going for the 223, so it's how many years? 15 years or whatever.
Elementary, so the approval of the math curriculum is a good example of that. So they went through a process. They said, this is what we want to do. We have a PD plan around that, and then we bring it to the board and work it through that process. So it's much more timely on a small scale. When you get to a bigger scale, that you have to have a process that goes around that because there's so many more people that are impacted.
Okay. And then 6.12, special ed. That cost of that, did we anticipate that cost, or was it above what or below, or do we have not a projection for it?
Yeah, we don't, because we don't have a projection for it, but we do meet with NIA every year to talk about what are our kids' needs. So we look at special education, what are the students' needs, so is it a need for OT and PT, is it a need for vision services, and then they craft a plan with NIA to do those services. So last year it was about $975,000. This year it's around $850,000. So it's just based on the kids' needs. So it's never consistent year to year, which is why we try and have that meeting pretty early in the year so that we can budget for it and take a look at what the students' needs are for next year.
Has their cost gone up?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I figured with everybody's costs are going up, I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like if,
Yeah, their cost per day has gone up significantly, but that seems to be pretty common in that field, and they're providing pretty highly specialized staff to us, which we really need.
I have one question too. The assistant principal of special education at RMS, is that a position being replaced? Like that person, whoever's in that position right now is leaving?
Yeah, what happened is, Carol Dobke, is retiring at the conclusion of this year. She's an assistant principal, over at Rotolo. And so a couple of the current assistant principals are changing seats, if you will, into different positions, still all at Rotolo. So Carol's retirement opened up an assistant principal position. Chris Payton is currently in that position. He's moving into, kind of the, operations athletic director position. Adam Lester is moving into Carol's old position, and that's leaving the special ed position open. So not a new position, just a little movement internally with the Rotolo assistant principals.
Thank you.
Did we get lucky on filling that position quickly?
We got a fantastic candidate, which is gonna be a massive win for the students and staff at Rotolo.
So special education's hard to fill,
You are right.
and then I just figured the assistant principal.
Yep. And he's had experience in that role at a very nearby school district.
Any other questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented minus 6.2.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Danielle, second by Aaron. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Arulando,
Yes.
Steiger,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Thank you, motion passes. Section 7, reports, we will now hear, in this, we will hear our board liaison reports. Is that when we want to do it right at the beginning, or do you want to do it under committee updates?
We'll do it under committee updates.
Okay, so item 7.1, FOIA requests, Tom?
Yep, board, you see the report, 6 reports, or 6 requests were filed within the last month, and, 1 was denied.
Any questions on? I lost an hour of my life looking at the first item that was on the list. I'm not asking questions about it. I just looked into it to understand a bit more about it. All right, item 7.2, Tony, treasurer reports.
Treasurer's report is presented. There's nothing out of the ordinary in the treasurer's report this month.
This is what happened when we pick on you right before coming out, like.
Tell me I talk too much.
This is it? All right, item 7.3, counseling, anybody have any questions on the treasurer's report? Sorry. Okay, item 7.3, counseling board report 2024-25. Brad?
Yep, this is an annual report, and it's dictated by board policy around counseling and advising. So this report is presented to you just to give you an idea, and I'm glad Paige was here, of what our counseling and advising departments do at both our middle school and high school. So you can see they work on both academic counseling, social emotional counseling, and really provide our students a great service.
Any questions?
Yeah, so I have a question. So the suicide prevention program, do we only offer that to sophomores in 7th grade?
The SOS program is only 7th grade and sophomores. And it's because at the middle school, 6th graders and 8th graders have health, so that's woven in. Suicide prevention's woven into the health class. So we do it in 7th grade where they don't have health. And at the high school, they have 9th grade health, and then they have that program for sophomores, and then we do a refresher their senior year, 12th grade year. So they're getting something pretty consistently, but it just depends on who's delivering that. Sometimes it's our own counselors that are doing that. Other times we're working with Alyssa's Mission and SOS.
So Alyssa's Mission, that's an outside group that comes in? So we don't have any certified staff that holds the SOS certification?
They're qualified, all of our therapeutic staff are qualified to both give the survey, which is what Alyssa's Mission does, is really looking at students who might be exhibiting those signs, and then they respond to that as well. So they're involved in that, so they can give the survey and then do the follow-up after the survey.
So is it,
It just comes from an outside organization.
so if I'm hearing correctly, the presentation is an outside organization, or, and then an internal staff member will give the survey?
Yeah, they give the survey, and then when we get the results of that survey, they will follow up with students that need to be followed up with. That's my understanding.
I'm just curious, like if, can any of our staff get certified in the presentation giving?
That I don't know. That's something I could look into.
I just think, and this is just me, I guess I feel like, I know that they have it in health class, you know, in the 6th grade, and they get refreshers, but, I just feel like maybe just every single year, I don't know how long the presentation is, if it's like, you know, an hour or 30 minutes. My thing is like, even if it's an hour, that's a good hour to spend on talking to kids about, you know, SOS. And, you know, I don't know, do we only give the presentation once a year, or?
Yeah, once a year.
You know, and maybe like just to check in, like, hey, beginning of the year, because we know that stressors happen throughout the year, and then maybe at the end of the year, and see if we made any progress, or if there's anything more we should be concerned about. I mean, that's just how I feel. But I feel like if we can have certified staff trained in that, not that I want to take away from the Alyssa's missions people, but, you know, that's something that we can internalize, and we can dictate how often we choose it, instead of spending the money to have them come in once a year. If we have someone trained, we can do it. Not we're gonna do it every day, but we could do that every day, if that makes any sense. But
Yeah, and we also have a partnership with SPS, Suicide Prevention Services, a local, so when we have those situations that do arise, they will come into our buildings and meet with families, because we want to make sure they have access to that type of services and that type of counseling. So there's multiple partnerships there, but I'm hearing you.
thank you. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, good questions. All right, committee updates. Tom, do you want to lead us off, or do you want me to just start picking people?
Yeah, if the board wants to go ahead and do your rundown like you always do, it's like I
Yes.
said earlier, this is an opportunity for us just to put the committee discussions all into one spot together. And then we have our report that we're providing you, so that, but now that's a matter of public record, you know, with what our major committees have done, but, so, yeah, board, have at it.
Sue, do you have anything anything you're doing?
Yes. Beefy met a couple weeks ago and voted on, gave out grants. We awarded over $9,000 in grants, as you saw in earlier. They were given, the high school got a couple, Rotolo got one. We awarded one to the J.B. Nelson, and I'm gonna call it the PTO. I don't think that's what they're called there anymore, but, they got one. And then also Storm, H.E. Storm got, was awarded a grant, and also United Way for their Dolly Parton reading project. And just to show everyone out there that you just don't necessarily have, it's always been called teacher grants, but it doesn't, you don't have to be a teacher to apply for the grants. So next year, keep that in mind. We met, the scholarship committee met last week, no, Monday, I can't even remember anymore. Voted on scholarships. The committee will, as a whole, will meet Thursday and vote on the scholarship, so I can't say, yeah.
Mum's the word.
Mum's the word. That will be announced Thursday or Friday, so, but good news is coming soon, so. That's where we're at right now.
Only thing I'm gonna add on Beefy is Sue reminded me that she's in her waning Beefy meetings. You're gonna have one more before the next board meeting?
What do you mean?
Beefy meetings. Do you have any, you'll have a couple updates. I'm just saying.
Yes.
After April, she will not be on the board anymore, and we will need a new board
But-
liaison.
Well, May.
May.
I'll go to May's. meeting.
Okay,
I'll do through May.
okay.
So the new, whoever's on the board would start probably in September.
So if anybody's interested, start
Yeah.
thinking about it.
It's fun.
We'll have an opening. Get to help give away money. How hard can it be?
Really?
How miserable can it be?
I actually got to give, hold a big giant check.
That's fun.
Unfortunately, I was not on the receiving end of the big giant check. But it's still fun to give away and surprise the teachers. You walk into their classroom and they're like, really excited. And
So
give
anybody
out money to
interested?
students too, so that's always fun.
Talk to Sue a little bit, understand what the time
Yeah.
involvement is, and
Yeah,
for right now,
if
let me
you're at
know.
all interested,
We'll help.
happy to let
orchestrate
you
it.
know what goes on, drag you to a meeting, you can see what it's like. It's fun.
If I could just say a quick thanks to Sue, being a non-voting board member, which is my role. It's unique, right? But I've been able to watch Sue work closely on Beefy, and I just wanted to say thank you. People don't realize you're an active working board member on that role.
It is a
And so
working
Sue has done a
board.
lot of work with their scholarship, restructuring, also creation of some new opportunities for our students through Beefy scholarships. So just want to say, Sue, thank you for doing that for our students and
Been
our
on that-
staff.
I've been on
Thank you.
Beefy for about 10 years and head of the scholarship committee for probably about the same amount and started working on that, kind of, not from the ground up, because they did have scholarships, but starting the rubric and the procedures and everything, so it's come a long way. Been fun.
Thank
Very
you.
rewarding, so anyways.
Rob,
Talk
rack,
about your insurance
Speaking-
or
Not-
stipend,
yeah.
that's not fun.
not giving away money, spending it,
Yeah.
rack.
Giving money, stipend committee, I would
There
say
you
that,
go.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, so, you know, we're upon March Madness in basketball here. We're gonna have March Madness of the stipend committee this Thursday. Really gonna roll into the requests and, looking at all of that, so, Steve's gonna bring plenty of Gatorade, to keep us hydrated during it. But that'll be the big, major task coming up there, this Thursday. And then, we'll see how it goes. It may flow into April's,
Usually
stipend.
takes a few meetings.
Okay, so, and then on the RAC meeting, I'm not gonna say too much, cause I know Tom's gonna talk about one of the items, that we discussed at the RAC meeting. And then, Mark, I believe, will be talking about a few other items. So they gave us previews on that, but you'll get the full details from, Tom and Mark on those items.
All right, so for plaque, we did a presentation from a company on a new professional development tool and signing up. I know the teachers that were on this committee were very excited because I don't, some of you may know, like, but you have to go into something and then into something and copy and paste and add one and carry the two. Where this is just more like, sign up and you're done. Very simplified. So they kind of looked at that. They talked about a piloted social studies program that was in the elementary schools for BPSU applications. At that time, I think we had met on the 20th. There was 50 signups already. And then also, they just kind of talked about how to make professional develop days more, maximize the time and, you know, if it kind of goes if you're in the morning or if you're in the afternoon and so forth like that. So, next meeting is this Thursday. So, yeah, good meeting.
Thank you.
Policy committee did not meet, but the Hall of Honor did meet. We had a meeting on February 26th, and I'm happy to announce that with a robust list of candidates, we were able to come to a consensus on 8 new inductees into the BPS 101 Hall of Honor, and that's out there, so I'll read their names now. We have typically 6 graduates, 1 employee, and 1 friend of the district we induct. In the 2025 class, it will include Mr. Brian Drendell, class of 1981, Les Foltos, class of 1967, Michael Heaton, he's the class of 1985, Jack Hinterlong, class of 1966, Aaron Olson Colhagen, class of 2002, and Nicole Coley Johnson Polakowski, I hope I got that right, class of 1999. The employee inductee is Miss Kim Anderson, and the friend of the district is Mr. John Hamill. And they will be participating in the homecoming parade, and then the following day, that Thursday, we have a ceremony. I invite the community to attend. A lot of past inductees, like Dr. Inglesi, are at that event typically, and so it's a great way to learn about the past of Batavia and what students have accomplished. It's always amazing to see the variety and the different ways people can make a contribution, so I would highly recommend people attend if they have the opportunity.
Did Tony go in as an employee or as a alumni?
He's looking for the twofer, so.
No, he's an alum.
The first two-time inductee, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Great goal.
He wants 2 photos of him. No, that's all I have.
No, there's,
I don't
you
support that.
have to have been an employee off, like,
You have to quit.
you have to quit, and then, yeah.
We can make it
But no,
happen.
that's great to see John Hamill, because he's done so much. Like, anybody that's been involved in the schools on any PTO, any organization knows that he will do anything. You know, if you need pizza or food or anything, he's.
Or a place to
willing
meet, yeah.
Place to meet, you know, he will just step up.
Yeah.
That's so great to see, and, you know, that's good.
That's a good group.
Yeah, great group.
Awesome. Danielle.
CACMet, I'm probably gonna throw it over to Brad, but basically my understanding is, they spent time to go over, the pilot program and kind of how to, review the process and definition and make sure that it's something that everyone understands and expectations are the same. So that was the bulk of the meeting, and I don't know specifically if you wanna add in stuff now or at your part, but.
No, I think you did a nice job of kind of summarizing our work in that meeting. Was really, if you look at the process for curriculum review, it's very daunting, right? And you're trying to get a lot of people on board and a lot of people involved in that process. One of the sticking points that we've had is the concept of what a pilot is, because some people believe that's like just trying things out. But there's so many moving pieces that we really have to make sure that everyone kind of understands that process and what that looks like and what the components are. So our team has been really looking at that and wanting to make some changes, so it's really, we probably won't use the word pilot in the future because that is confusing. So really talking about like, what do we do prior to implementation, and then what does an implementation plan really look like, just so that it's clear to everyone in our organization and not, we're coming at it with 6 different definitions. So that's our work, and we'll do an update this next Thursday. Or in 2 days, yeah.
Okay. Tom?
Yes, so a few things here from the administration. We're really excited, I'm excited, Drew Ray and I are co-chairing the equity committee. We're meeting tomorrow, just as an update for you all, and we're really excited on what we're talking about on the agenda and some next steps and action steps in engaging with pockets of our community that I think will be able to provide some really valuable feedback in the work we're doing here in the district. Referencing, going back to our discussion about RAC, so at RAC, one of the things we presented were updates that the city of Aurora has announced in their city vision and planning. And at the announcements, they've shared plans for more residential and commercial developments in the city of Aurora, but that will fall in the BPS 101 boundaries. The residential zones, if you will most likely impact what is already on the east side, certain school communities and boundaries that are starting to spill over at this point. Of our 6 elementary schools, JVN is our biggest, floating around 450 students. And with some of the developments they're speaking about right now, those coming online would put a little more pressure on that, because right now that has been consistently flowing with 3 sections per grade level. And so we reviewed the current elementary boundaries and the busing routes that are being used to support all 8 of our buildings. And after presenting that and the city of Aurora's developments in that topic, RAC supported that we recommend to the board that we're requesting consensus from you tonight for us to start pursuing a demographer to do a study. There's no action, I know if anyone watching our board meeting tonight might be thinking, wait, are they changing our boundaries right now? No, we want to do a study. We need to understand what these developments might do once they come online. We haven't looked at this in 22 years. So it's a good time to do that. If you look at the maps and the way things were drawn, they were drawn for places where there was no home development yet, no residential development. Well, they're there now, and they're gonna come more now. So, RAC supported this recommendation. We have been gathering some information. You know, there are districts in our region that have done this work recently. So, you know, with your permission, we'd like to pursue and engage, talking to some of these groups, but we would bring that to you, back to you for approval, and authorize actual contract work to begin.
I mean, I anticipate we would have had to do this even without that, with probably what's going on down the street, right, on the, maybe not?
Maybe not, because again, the density of the homes in all of our residential areas on the east side of Batavia, when I say east side, I should make this clear. I'm using east side as east side of the river versus west side of the river. That seems to be our line of. So, east side of the river, residential units are tighter. You know, the east side of the river was, developed a little bit, has been here with, you know, longer, the neighborhoods. And so I think when you look westward, you know, they're a little more spread out. So, yeah. Tony, did I miss anything from our discussions with the city of Aurora? Just so you know, like, Tony and I are usually the ones receiving these communications. Sometimes actually Tony's getting it directly, and then he forwards it to me. But I appreciate the team at Aurora. They've really done a nice job of keeping us in the loop with some of these developments. And also, we've shared our concerns, and the city has supported us. The city of Aurora has supported us with, you know, walkway concerns to school, safe pathways. They're working with the developers and making sure that what our requests are being met in terms of those concerns.
Are you looking for consensus now, or us to talk about
Yes,
it?
actually, because we don't want to wait. If we know that the city has made it clear that they're going to move on these, I don't think we should wait. I think if the more runway we get, the better and the less rushed this will feel. So you could do the good old,
Yeah. Anybody have any concerns about it, at least to go start the investigation process? No? Okay,
all right.
go for it. I mean,
That's
I
a
know.
thumbs up, I think.
That is your
Every
thumbs up,
time
yeah.
Tony probably gets this question, every time we talk about enrollment, someone goes, well, there's houses being built. How many kids are showing up? And he gives my crystal ball is no better than anybody else's. So having somebody to kind of come in and look at some data that might help extrapolate that over time would be helpful. So,
Awesome. All right.
thank you. Anything, any other updates on your side?
I think everything else has been provided here, so those were just the ones of specific conversation.
The only ones I'm gonna just add real quick is, as we have been starting now having kind of quick sit-down with the BEA and Tom and two board members, myself and one other, and the other one's been kind of rotating around. Had a very good meeting today to kind of talk about how we can kind of kind of create two sets of meetings, or almost, of one of them is how do we look at making sure that the avenues for us to be able to get to the schools, to be able to kind of, you know, witness, be a part of, be present in events that are happening, and how that might be structured, while recognizing, and this was Tom's, you know, making sure that we're not overloaded with too many things to do. So as the kind of the new board comes on, that will be kind of some discussions about maybe reorganizing some things. I'm not gonna get all into it tonight, but ways to be able to kind of handle that and work that out, so that we have maintain kind of two different visions for what those processes are. So it's a very good meeting, and I thank Raquel for coming today and providing a lot of good insights, so thank you. All right, anything else, Tom? Now that I rounded it out? No? Okay, next.
No, because we'll talk about board matters.
Yep, okay. So, action item 8.1, mathematics resource adoption. Brad?
Sure. So we put this on display. You approved this to put this on display last month. It's been on display. We haven't gotten any takers yet, but we have our math resources. So this came from one of our subject area leadership teams. They did a really nice job of working through this process. They're really excited about this. This would impact students in the elementary who are in high ability math. It gives another pathway to math acceleration in the middle school, and it will also affect our students who take algebra at the high school. So kind of a lot of kids that would be impacted by the use of this resource. They think this is something, and I agree with them, that is really going to facilitate a lot of growth for our kids. The rigor is up there, and I really appreciate them kind of digging into this resource. We did some professional development already on this because they were just so ready to do that. So we met here and really started to look at like, what does a lesson look like? What's the lesson structure look like? And how can we get our kids more engaged with mathematics? So that was a really good session, and we're excited about this.
Any questions or comments? The only thing I like, and I think I mentioned in a previous meeting, is one of my sons was like right on the cusp of getting kind of higher placement in math and had to kind of wait all the way to kind of high school to really get into that. And he kind of had to work his tail off to get through that, to get kind of caught up. So I like this as a better kind of takeoff kind of ramp for them, as opposed to jumping into high school at the higher math levels and skipping things, as
Yeah,
was mentioned.
Let's not skip things. Let's compact that, make sure they get all of that core stuff that they need, and our kids will do great.
All right, hearing no further questions or comments from the board, I will entertain a motion, if I can get the page, to approve Eureka Math 2 as the anchor resource for mathematics. So moved by Raquel.
Second.
Second by Rob. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Meadows,
Yes.
Sliger,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Hilbert,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Arlandu,
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you. Item 8.2, these. Approval of superintendent's new contract. So as you all know, this guy is up for a new contract. We've been meeting over time in it, and we would like to effectively kind of re-up his contract for it. The paperwork's been out there. I won't get into too many details about it, but does anybody have any questions for me, Tony, Steve, or anybody else? Been a very good process. I would just want to kind of commend the board for working together and talking about it and really making sure everybody understands it, and Tom for being very kind of open and forthright through the process. So thank you. Appreciate it. All right, hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion that the board approve the superintendent's contract as presented. So moved by Raquel, second by Aaron. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Arlandu,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Hilbert,
Yes.
Sliger,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
I think we already had a majority.
Yeah,
I know how to count to 4.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
All right.
You could hit him if you wanted.
Yeah, it passed, right?
Yeah, you did. It's already passed. All right, item 8.3, award bids for library improvements at Batavia High School and Rotolo Middle School. And Mark,
Yes,
the floor is yours, sir.
thank you. Good evening. Both at Rotolo and the high school, most of the library is as you saw it when those buildings opened. So 92 for Rotolo, and, well, I should preface that BHS didn't open in 95, but that part opened in 95 for the library. This process we started, well, at the high school a while ago, but specifically with Amy, the LRC director there, and Diana, the LRC director at Rotolo, earlier this school year. We had, with our architect DLR, had 3 different design meetings. Kind of the first one, the initial one, getting back and forth feedback from both LRC directors, and basically came to a design that everybody agreed on, even though it's probably still gonna get tweaked a little bit. Had to wait till tonight for approval, but there's still some things going on there, and Holly might be queuing up something for me here so you can kind of see a little bit about what this looks like. So the first one you're looking at is Rotolo, and again, these are design images. This isn't exactly what it's gonna look like.
It's rendering.
Sorry, renderings, thank you, Craig. You're in this terminology much more than I am. So basically, the box or the rectangle that it is not changing. So ceilings, lighting, carpeting. In this space, the windows will be changing. That design that you see there isn't gonna be exactly what they look like. So this is very important in this space. Those windows have needed to be replaced for a while now. Most of those windows, come to find out, were not installed correctly. when they first were put in. So that's led for some fogging and some, obviously not the best energy efficiency that we can use. So those are going to get replaced. And really, if you want to just kind of go through this, Holly, as you can see, kind of closer, different ceiling look, different lighting. Zones were identified as the needs for Rotolo. That space at Rotolo is used a lot for, they have teams there, so an entire team. So it could be 90 students to 120-ish students. So there's a zone that you can bring chairs in, and they can, see a presentation or something like that, and then you can take those chairs and put them somewhere else and use it as a different meeting space for a class or a class of students, or, students coming in small groups. And then, thank you, then the high school, very similar as far as a look, but different spaces. The difference in Rotolo and the high school, I would say, the main one, is the ceiling height. At the high school, that space was senior hall. That's where classes were. And so a lot of the things, as you can see, some of those pillars, that was a hallway, and then the classrooms came off of that. We can't change that. That is there. So you have to kind of, use what you got and, create different spaces there. I would say the high school more than the middle school. A lot of students will go there to kind of more of like hang out, like before, after school, to do work. A little more than Rotolo. Rotolo has a little bit of that, but the high school, so we had to kind of figure that in. The other piece in here is, this is where Chrome Depot is located. So students that have something wrong with their Chromebooks, Chrome Depot, that's what it's called. So I have to go down there and get their Chromebooks looked at or fixed. That currently is right in the middle of the library. So they have to walk through the library, go to this space. So we put it at one of the ends of the library. We're creating 2 new spaces, an actual office for Chrome Depot or a space for Chrome Depot. And then that way they can just come right off the hallway and access it right there. So this went out to bid in 2 different phases, one in February and one in early March, just because of some timing of drawings and things like that. For the most part, was happy with the bids that came in, and the cost I was happy with, but a couple of the trades, we didn't get as many bidders as I would have liked to have seen. But unfortunately, we're kind of at that time of year right now where a lot of bidders know that they might have too much on their plate, and they say, yeah, we would like to do it, but we don't want to get in too much. The only piece that, besides that, the other concern I have is the casework might be delayed a little bit, just because of, it's kind of getting in line as far as when they're going to develop it. So that might come real close to when school starts, but we have a plan B for that to happen. It's not going to affect the library opening or anything like that.
So this would start like the day after school classes?
Not quite like HC Storm's work,
okay.
but yeah, shortly thereafter school ends. I would say more than like, because what we have to do is we have to get all of the books out.
Yeah, okay.
So that's going to take a little bit longer. So the books all have to come out of both spaces and get stored and get organized, so then when they go back in, they know the sections and fiction, nonfiction, and all that, where they go.
Complicated.
So I would say the work would
I consider that
more
starting,
towards
though.
June. What's that?
I consider that starting.
Well, yes, that work started, but the actual
Right.
demolition
That is
won't start
starting,
until after that.
All right, any questions? Thank you for walking us through. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, I will entertain a motion to award the bids for the library improvements at Batavia High School and Rotolo Middle School Library as presented in Appendix A.
So moved.
So moved by Aaron, second by Rob. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Steiger? Yes. Arlandu?
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas?
Yes.
Meadows?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Hilbert?
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
I'm not
Next
moving.
is certification of the 10-year Health Life Safety Survey.
I'm not going to do this all by myself. I have Carrie Van Sant here from our architect firm, DLR.
Worried she came all this way just to wave at us and say
Right.
thank you.
Yeah. She'll take over here, but 10-year health life safety survey. It is a requirement from the state. You have to do this. So Instead of, my team actually cannot do this, so our architect steps in, and this, I would say the 10-year health, life, safety is a long process. It takes a lot of time to do, really to get the report where it's at, and then even after the report of the recommendations to do as well. I will let Carrie take us through that process.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. It's been a bit since I've been here, but it's nice to see you all. So the Health Life Safety Surveys, as Mark mentioned, is a requirement every 10 years on all state of Illinois public school facilities. So we started this process, we reviewed all of the buildings, went back and did some additional reviews on a couple of the buildings. And essentially, the process that we take as architects and engineers of record are looking at the existing buildings under the codes in which they were originally designed or renovated under. And we go through and look for potential things that may not align to those. And those could be things like penetrations, like conduit, or things that went through the firewall that might not have been appropriately sealed at the time that it was done. Or perhaps based on the use of a school, a storage room needed to become an office. And because that happens a lot, right? Sometimes spaces turn over. And by the time we go in and look at it, it needs ventilation for that particular purpose. And then there are times that maybe labels on doors or frames that are fire rated may be painted over, so they need to be addressed, or certain doors might not have closers or might not be functioning correctly when they need to be operating as such. Those are a lot of the typical things we find. They're really kind of maintenance, make sure your things, your walls and your doors and spaces are appropriately meeting the needs of the code at that time under which it was built. And anything that's retroactive. So ISB does have certain retroactive requirements. In a building like the high school that has 11 additions over different years, there are a plethora of codes that a building could be under. Fortunately, for most of the high school, because of when the C-wing was constructed, there was a lot of renovation for the oldest, most in the original parts of the building. So then we're evaluating it under the more current version of the code, if you will. When we do that, so we do a site walk, architects, engineers, IMEG is our local engineering partner. They've been in the district for a couple decades now, so they know your buildings really well. But we take a team in, we do a full walk of the buildings, and we're looking at potential, what they're called violations. Not a nice word, but violations they are. And then we rank them, priority A, B, and C, as you see up there. Priority A are items that are considered more urgent, that should be addressed within a year. Priority B items are a little bit longer term. They're still required items, but they give you, the ISB gives you 5 years to address those. And the ROE is pretty good in working with districts, if it's a bigger item, to be able to take that time to be able to address some of those items. Priority C items are recommended improvements, so they're not required. And for districts that levy health, life, safety funds, you have to address all the A and B items before you could then use HLS funds to address C items, which include things like energy efficiency, improvements for ADA, beyond what's required by ISB standards and the code under which the building was designed, or things like paving. So you get special approvals to use funds for those C items. So we walk the buildings, we document everything. There's an IWAS guide on ISB. I don't know what that acronym stands for IWAS, but it's an online platform that you enter in all the particular things that you found that need to be addressed. You cite the codes, it's a process, Craig knows this.
I've been through it.
You cite how you recommend addressing those items and the potential costs for that in today's dollars. And then you tally it all up and summarize it. And you also in that process create what are called safety reference plans. So it's a site plan and the building floor plans that show things like the calculated occupancy of a room, exiting, travel distances, firewalls, fire areas, et cetera. Very code related. heavy and related. And then there's also an MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing component to that for exit signs and emergency lighting and things like that to get documented. So every school has that documentation. It gets updated every 10 years. And then we upload it on the online platform. We say, okay, we're done, we sign off on it, and then we push it to the district for approval. And then from you all, it goes to the Regional Office of Education, and then from the ROE, it goes to the state for final approval. Because this is just an amendment, no request for HLS funds, that process is typically pretty smooth. If a district were to levy HLS funds and do what's called an amendment and say they want to use fire prevention and safety funds for something, then that's a whole process, and the costs are vetted, and that's a longer process with ISB. So tonight here is just reviewing, kind of getting board approval to kind of push this into the ROE's court.
A few things I do want to point out, because when you see the number of $4.9 million, when you see the total, some of that 2.2 million was already budgeted. So we, as we did the warm, safe, dry, we saw some things like fire alarm upgrades was, I would say, the biggest one. So those have already been out 5 years. So a lot of those are B items. So a lot of the B items, not all of them, but a lot of them have already been budgeted. Other things that, when Carrie and team does their report, they put she mentioned door labels, for example. So they put on there what it would cost to replace a door, okay? Well, you might not have to replace the door. You have to actually see if it's still fire rated. So there's other companies that come through and will do a survey of all of the doors that were a violation. So that number could substantially drop. But again, we don't know that, and Carrie's team doesn't know that, so they put the full amount in that place. So again, I know, you see the number, and I know questions are like, well, is this budgeted for? How are we gonna pay for this? Things like that. Any work that either has to go out to bid, I will bring back to you, and it will be in a package. And the same thing with LRCs, it'll be the same thing. So then we'll know exactly how much that works costs. But all of that legwork before that to check will happen before even have another, Carrie's team and our LAMP, our construction manager, come in to do. So we'll do that first as far as getting that number where it needs to be, and then bring that back. A items, the plan for the A items, because most of those would have to be done over a summer, that would be the summer of '26. So it wouldn't be anything coming this year that wasn't already planned for. But some of that work was planned in the HC Storm renovations for this summer.
So I'm trying to process all this. So this is a report.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So I'm trying to figure out like what we're doing tonight if we certify it. It's like moving the process forward.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then,
It's essentially, Aaron, kind of accepting the
Inevitable.
the violations in the safety reference plan and the process as submitted on the state's web portal, I guess you would call it.
and then we'll go back and review, like you were saying, see, like, okay, let's go to these A items and like
Yeah,
a little
so-
more granular of like how much it's gonna.
Right, once this gets through the process, we'll start looking at the A items. We'll take those, identify those between, well, I would say a few months, but this summer up until next summer. And do any of those A items make sense to put in what's already planned? So, for example, Storm is this summer, we have Louise White is next summer, and in the same work as Storm. So things, when you look at Louise White, might not have been budgeted for, or we didn't foresee, that would go in there. And then that way you already have contractors there, it's part of that, so we would just put that into the bid process. And there's other things planned with Warm Safe Dry, we would do the exact same exercise for stuff at the high school, at Rotolo, and elementary schools.
Yeah, we're not actually certifying it's like right, that's Carrie's
Right.
job.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just certifying that we are accepting it and acknowledging that those items will likely need to be addressed,
And that the process has been done.
and that the
Yeah.
process has been done,
Yeah.
because they will write
I
nasty
just-
grams if it's not.
I just wanted to make sure, and obviously these numbers are fluid, but when I see a number like remove paint from painted label or replace, well, that's not a good one even. Provide accessible door hardware. And it's 5,000. Obviously, it's for the multiple doors. Is that including labor and doors?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Labor material.
labor and,
Labor and material.
that's, I just,
And
because sometimes the numbers, because it's like $75 to remove paint, and I'm like,
Yeah, and some
there's
of
no
those,
product there, but
many of
it's the labor to remove the paint, so
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
and many of the items too, if they're, so there's a coding, whether the district can do it with their own personnel, so a lot of it, Mark's
Well, yeah, I
team
would
can do,
assume
like
somebody
that
could
in
remove
particular, Sue.
paint.
And then some are, they're a little bit larger scale, or if you pair them across the buildings, it makes more sense to have a contractor come in and do that, so.
Yeah, because I know we've talked before about your guys changing out door handles,
Yep. Yeah.
stuff like that,
The stuff you just mentioned,
yeah,
it will be done, as I call it, in-house. Our
Yeah.
own maintenance will do
yeah,
that.
you don't need contractors coming in to do some of that stuff, but, yeah. So, okay.
I just have a question too. So this is done every 10 years, and I understand that codes change and so forth, but the last 10 years this was done, was any of this should have been caught then? Or the 20 years, or the 30 years? I mean, I'm not, I know it's not us, it's the company that does this, and so I'm just curious, it's like, because, I mean, it seems like a lot. And I don't know if the codes have changed that much in 10 years, where it would be. And I know that,
Carrie probably can't really answer that, to be honest, because it's different architects firm, but I would say yes. And I came on into this role right after the 2014 one was approved. And so I kind of took that over. And the exact same conversation was happening at that time. Yeah, when, at that point, my boss, we had that conversation, board members had that conversation, the same thing. So yes, it does. But again, I think that's why it's every 10 years, because there are things that change in that time frame as well. But yes.
just to reiterate, it's not that the codes change, because you evaluate it for when it was built. So you don't have to update the code outside of some legal proceedings requirements. So if the building was built in 1982, you're evaluating under the 1982 code. So like you said, at the high school, there's 11 different editions, or Rotolo is kind of even worse. There's a bunch of different editions with 5 different building codes associated with it. What happens is when you build onto buildings and one to the next, different architects have different levels of comfort about trying to understand what they will accept. And so more things come on the list. Also, just stuff happens over the years, you know. Someone comes in and is like, oh, I'll just replace the door handle, and grabs a door handle that's no longer ADA and it goes in there. So it's a myriad of issues. It's hard to pin down if there was an at fault for it, per se. It's just an important thing that these things get done so that, because previous to the 10-year, they just weren't happening. And then nobody was paying attention to what the buildings were like, and things were creating unsafe situations for kids potentially, and the staff that's in the buildings.
I mean, I wasn't looking to blame, I was
Yeah.
just like,
It happens, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like you said, like, I understand this, hey, this door handle, I'm just gonna grab this. I was just curious if like,
Now, what does happen is interpretations of codes change. So you might get a new ROE that comes in, and that's a whole new batch of things that they pay attention to and interpret different. And while the architect's the one that's ultimately making the interpretation, you get guided by the ROE because they have to sign off on it. Yeah.
What are the consequences of not, doing a priority A item or priority B item within 5 years?
How much?
I don't know if I've ever had a district ask me that, because everybody just does it.
Everybody works real hard at getting them taken
Yeah.
care of.
So the ROE is responsible for ensuring that school districts submit their 10-year health, life, safety surveys, and that they do them. And so they would do a permit review. They also do compliance on the myriad of state statutes that, Brad is usually our point guy on that, but there is a instrument that they use to evaluate all the curricular requirements, and they do much the same for this sort of thing too. So that's why it's one of the key functions of the regional offices of education.
Let me ask this question. Is this going to cause us to modify warm, safe, and dry, do you anticipate?
I missed the first part.
Will this cause us to have to modify warm, safe, and dry?
Well, these costs are definitely part of warm, safe, and dry by definition. And we don't know the full extent of the additional costs of them, because as Mark mentioned, we know that there's a fire-rated door that's supposed to be here. We painted over the label, or maybe the label peeled off, and now we have to determine whether or not that door just needs a new label, or that door needs to be replaced so that fire rating is maintained. So we don't know the full extent of the cost just yet. We just know what the scope of the work is that needs to
I
be.
guess a better way to phrase that, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'm asking to pull it out, but do you think if things continue upon this current path we're on, we will be able to address these needs within our current?
Oh, within our current budget?
Yeah.
I would tell you that I am concerned about the current budget and the amount of work that we have to do from a capital basis, and the number keeps growing. And there's just a lot to do.
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot. There are some new techniques, or I shouldn't say techniques, there's a new tool in our toolbox with our ability to levy health, life, safety funds. That's a new thing for us, being a tax cap district just within the last year. That's a possibility for us. But it's something to consider.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to certify the 10-year Health Life Safety Survey as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Raquel, second by
Second.
Danielle. Cindy, please lead us in a roll call vote.
Arlandu,
Yes.
Steiger,
Yes.
Gonzalez Thomas,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Locke,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carrie. All right. Board discussion. That was all of our action items. Thank you to everybody on that. Board discussion, meeting dates. Tom?
Yes, so, board, as you know, we've been soliciting availability of different kinds of dates from you. The first one I'm gonna start with is the organizational meeting that will need to be taking place per board policy 2:210. So, in the policy, it specifically kind of outlines when that board meeting needs to take place. And following with what the district has done traditionally, we're making it a recommendation that we go ahead and move forward with April 22nd, following the regular board meeting, that the reorganization of the board meeting take place and seating our new members, and then the board would conduct its own internal election of officers and positions.
So long and short of it, we'll have our own board meeting first, then bring on the new board members. That way, any kind of things that are action items or whatever else that they might not yet be up to speed on, we can address. No?
I'm not voting.
Then, the next part or portion, which you would as a board approve with, the newly seated board, but these are the dates based on what our reciprocal dates are on the calendar from this school year into next school year. So those have been outlined for you as well. Does anybody have any questions about the FY '26 board meeting dates?
I know we've had conversations about how a lot of Batavia governmental meetings are all on like Tuesdays. And is there any potential discussion, I don't know, probably too late for this, the 25-26 year, but whether it's us or any of them to move to like a Wednesday or something like that, so that people, ourselves included, can attend other meetings?
That is your, Danielle, great question. I'd turn it over to the board. I think that's a board conversation, as to what, next year's meetings would look like for all of you. Because the policies don't dictate what night of the week you need to meet.
Are they still following the first, outside of a couple of them, like the first Tuesday?
This is
After
following
the
the,
19th.
Cindy, help me out. Are we on the third Tuesday of the month?
So we're just solid on the third Tuesday of the month now, as opposed to what we used to be.
The one factor we'd ask that you consider is that you keep that cadence similar to that, because we have to pay bills based off of.
Yeah, we used to be the first Tuesday after the 19th or something.
So we don't like it when, if you're gonna have a regular meeting within 2 weeks of the last, we don't have it will create gaps in terms of when we can pay bills. That's what it boils down to, so.
Some of these are not on the third Tuesday because of,
Like Christmas?
June is when we close out the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Does that mess with like committee meetings too?
It could.
Okay.
Right now, part of what our chairs have done on the committees, our BEA and admin chairs have tried to line it up so that they're more coordinated as to when they're happening together, so that they can have cross conversations and timing of discussions are happening kind of in the same window of time, so there aren't these big gaps in order to keep the moving and the momentum going. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's good. Right.
Just curious. I don't know. Right now's the time, but just
Yeah.
kind of curious.
Because I think, I get your point, it's like, have the school board meeting on this particular night, so other members or other agencies can like go to other meetings and such?
Yeah,
right?
and like, just if people want to, our constituents want to be able to go to city council, but then we also hold it, and sometimes Park District was having theirs all on the
Sure.
same night, so, yeah. Okay, that was my only question.
So we could either talk about that now, or when there's a board workshop coming up that we've already scheduled. I think that's a reasonable time to kind of, we do that one in open session. That one's not necessarily a, internal working on the board session.
That board workshop would be with the new board, right?
Yes.
I think that's.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
more appropriate.
and then talk about whether we want to amend this at all, or just say, okay, for next year, this is what we'll do, kind of thing. Yeah. Then we'll have a bunch of people showing up on the wrong day for a while, if we're not careful.
Including ourselves.
So then, if that leads into our next discussion about special meetings, with that board workshop, just keeping in mind, if we delay or wait past May for FY 26's board meetings, keeping in mind, you're turning right around into July, so I just want to make sure you all are aware of that, okay? And how that impacts the operations of the district. So then, special board meetings, after we finished all of our presentations to the January regular board meeting, there was discussion amongst the board to consider splitting off the meetings to include a special board meeting as well. We also surveyed the board on that, and so, we did contact all potential candidates running for board, just so the board is aware, for those of you who are not running in this cycle. Every candidate was contacted so we could take into consideration their potential needs from a calendaring perspective and their schedules. So where we're at, it seems that Thursday, May 29th, had the most consensus. That would be the evening we try to dedicate towards our building presentations. The administration's presentations would take place on June 25th, Wednesday. That had the consensus of all candidates and current board members, and that would be at 7 PM. And that would be the district-wide presentation. And then the board workshop that you were just talking about, it looks like the consensus is June 10th at 6 PM. So you could start a little earlier, because if you recall, that's a pretty robust conversation, really good dialogue. And we have asked our IASB trainer or consultant, I think the new title they gave them is consultant or something like that, to hold that date for us, because her calendar was filling quickly. We were losing dates as we were collecting dates from you. So, the other question, I guess, with that is, we had 8 buildings present in one night. Even with a special board meeting, if we keep it clear of any other work, is that okay for you, or do you want some of those presentations to happen on the regular board meeting night on May 21st? Is that right? May 21st, do I have it right? Yeah, thank you. All right, so May 21st, that would be the regular night, or do you want all 8 just to be on that special night? And part of the reason why I'm focusing on May is because our SLT teacher reps and our principals, not all are full year principals, and our teachers also, break for the summer a couple days after this. So I want to be mindful or cognizant of their time in that. So, I guess we're looking for direction from the board as to how you'd like us to set this up.
My opinion or my feedback is that, all 8 in one night.
I would agree with that. So that meeting, that would be the agenda basically, correct? I think that's the way we should do it.
This is somewhat related to some conversations that a number of you had with me as board president, as about like overstacking board meetings, and then let's focus on trying to create these instead of going to 2 a month board meetings, let's do these special meetings on an alternate to minimize our special conversations at these other meetings. Also, so that everybody, if others are interested in coming, they're gonna hear about that topic, as opposed to the rest of the board agenda items. Raquel?
I think it should all be on one night.
You too? All right.
Okay. So, Cindy, if you can make sure it reflects that May 29th, we'll need to go ahead and prepare for a special board meeting, and we'll make that official for the board, all right? And then, June 25th, if we're doing all night, are you good with the district's presentation being on June 25th then?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, all right, great.
Just a note, June's packed,
Yeah.
because we have 3 meetings that month.
Sounds good.
In attendance to?
Yeah.
You're welcome to come.
Public comment?
Yeah, maybe I'll couple.
3 minutes.
Right, she's gonna laugh for 3 minutes.
Team, is there anything else
I'll
that
bring
we
treats.
need to cover with dates, or are we good to go? That covers everything? Cindy, are we good to go too?
I was thinking,
I can think of.
so we
Who
have,
doesn't
we have the June 10th set, that we are gonna go with the June 10th.
Mhm.
Are you considering speaking at the June 10th meeting about changing the dates? Because it's planned that we're supposed to vote in April on these dates.
She's referring to next year's
Yes.
slate of regular board meeting dates.
So I will say, Danielle, I do think it's a worthy discussion. I think probably though, in the sense of planning, we probably need to keep these dates.
Absolutely.
And then that'd be discussion for future.
Yeah, no, I was talking like going forward, so that when
Got
we,
it.
so next time, like next year at this time, we don't just have Tuesday already, but have that conversation before.
Determined.
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
great. All right, so we'll bring your slate of regular board meeting dates for FY '26 to the April board meeting, take action, and then we'll prepare special board meetings as discussed tonight. Awesome, okay.
Board matters.
All right, so the board matters tonight is a follow-up to our board matters discussion in February. As you heard earlier, Mr. Boderman presented his viewpoint of how our meeting on Saturday, we met with Bick. It was a great conversation. I want to say almost the scheduled 2 hours, that entire time almost was spent on the presentation both Brad and Natalie Assel did on our SEL work, not only just in the district, but the history of where this came from. You know, as a mandate from ISB back in 2003, then ISB requiring learning standards around social emotional learning in 2004, and then our journey as a state and as a district. So it was a great exercise in helping our parents understand that framework, and then where we're at today, and then where we're going in the future. Almost all of that information has been shared with you, whether it's come through my weekly updates to you, or some of the presentations you've seen, or some of the reports we've shared with you and presentations we've shared with you. But it was nice to be able to provide that for our parents at BIC. They have been, if I'm being honest, this entire year, our BIC group has been a great source of feedback as, you know, parent leaders of their stakeholder groups, the PTOs, BEFI, BAF, music buffs, BEA, BESPA. Stage, thank you. And I think I got, BSPN, and BSPN, our Special Ed Parent Network. So it's been awesome. So, we tonight wanted to show you, now we provided a paper copy of it for you, but we gathered feedback from the parents. We wanted to see if you had any feedback tonight after having, maybe not enough time to digest, that's what I wanna hear first. You know, I know the packets come out on Friday and sometimes life happens. Life happened to me on Saturday because I had in-laws in town and family, and I wanna thank Brad for finishing off the big meeting for me, because we didn't even get to the wraparound after the 2 hours, so Brad had to cover that for me. Yeah, so Holly has queued up the documents, so you can all take a peek at it. Let's start with, how about our, Brad, what do you think, parent guide first? Yeah, okay. So, want to thank Brad and Tony for the collaboration around this particular document. There's, good teamwork here, and we try to put this together in listening to you, listening to parents, listening to feedback we receive, and thinking about how do we streamline some form of a manual or guide to help parents who are looking for one spot to find some information and steps. This is what we have. We have not incorporated any feedback we received from Vic yet, just FYI. So the meeting just took place on Saturday, so I haven't had a chance yet.
The comment you got from Vic, is it fairly adjusting things, or there's not so much like structural revision?
No, actually, it was very positive.
Okay.
Very well received. I think they just had some minor thoughts. The discussion actually started to branch out into like, okay, so how do we engage parents? And, like, it just kind of really evolved into a nice conversation about what do schools need to do? What do parents and families need to do? Like, what are the symbiotic relationships we have, and how we can all help each other be partners in all of this work? We talked about certain aspects of communication. Parents were able to note certain things that they have seen or noticed from the district, and then parents asked questions about, could we consider doing this or that? And so we took notes of those things. And then one of the things we're realizing is, we want to continue to find a way to bridge a lot of the work that's happening here, but help show the connections and how that work is foundationally supporting everything people are talking about when it comes to our desire to continue to grow the sense of belonging response rates that we see our students reporting to us, right? I mean, we aspire to hit 100%, right? I mean, that, if we're talking, any of the board's goals that you'll be looking at as an organizational thermometer, we aspire to be 100%, right? That's the goal. But, so how do we keep improving, I guess is the better way to put it. That was the conversation.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And this is,
Brad, is there anything you want to add? Did I?
No, this, one of our main takeaways from our last discussion was really improving communication. So this is an attempt to do that, to really give parents like a more concise, less policy-driven way to access the information. So this aligns with our board policy that gives more information that a parent might need if they're in this type of situation, right? Adult learning is like a shopping cart. You don't put it in your shopping cart till you need it, but when you need it, you really need it. So we want to make sure parents would have access to this, that it's concise, it's not educational jargon, and that they know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen as we follow up on these incidents that do happen.
and this, I was gonna say, this is effective, the same group that the state required kind of workshop or whatever it's called from the state, from a bullying perspective on the bullying policy that reviews it, that you guys met with before? Vic?
Same group.
Yeah, so it may not be same individuals, because I know sometimes people float in and out of that depending on availability, or was it?
No, it was all the same.
All the
Yeah,
All the same,
people.
good.
all same people.
So they had a little bit of background about what we do, and we talked about communication as a big part of that. There's two other pieces that we want to show you tonight, so this is just one of those. So Holly, you want to click on that parent communications one? This is just a sample. So this is kind of what we talked about towards the end of our last discussion around this, is looking at really beefing up some of our communication. So I would say, like, it's very stressful when a parent is contacted, whether their child is the aggressor or the recipient of bullying. So our legal firm has these, and I think they do a really nice job of giving parents really specific information about the process, what's gonna happen, what that looks like, what that sounds like, what that feels like, and what potential outcomes could be. And I think that's really what parents are looking for. Sometimes, in the name of confidentiality, we're a little bit more general, and I think in these situations, parents want more information is better for them because they want to know. So this is an example of a number of letters that are provided by our legal counsel and their firm to help give parents exactly what they need if their child is experiencing that. And they have letters for both the aggressor and the victim in that situation, which I think do a really nice job of giving really specific information about what's happened and what's going to happen. So that's another example where we can beef up communication. And then, Tom, do you want to talk about the last one?
Sure. Can I ask a question about this one first? I know things vary a lot, but is this like the first that a parent might be seeing this, like, is the letter, or is there like usually some sort of phone call, conversation, discussion that's happening prior to this?
It's usually a phone call, but I can tell you, when you get that kind of phone call, it's like going to the doctor's office. You want someone there taking notes, right? So this is like the follow-up letter.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
just make, this is a follow-up, 'cause
Yeah.
if I saw that at first, I'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, this would be a
Parents may not
very
even realize
intimidating
something
letter to
happened.
receive in the mail. But I think after a phone call, this is exactly the type of information I would want about my kids and that process, because it would lay it all out. And I'm probably, when I was on that phone call, upset
Yeah.
and emotional about that situation. And I'm probably not thinking straight or taking good notes while on that phone call. And they don't need to, because it's all right here. So I think that's kind of the purpose of this. But because of our timelines, we can't really use letters. 'Cause
I
we have-
assume that.
We have a pretty tight timeline on these
Society has
pieces, so.
changed. Snail mail.
And mail's been pretty slow lately, so.
So, again, the construction of this document was based on the feedback and discussion we heard, right? Going into board policy link, then going to the specific section of our board policy manual, general public. That's not an intuitive place for them to navigate. So that's why we took your feedback and the conversations and tried to create it as a parent guide. Something that can also, and this was actually part of the big feedback, that we can use where buildings are proactively sending that as part of their communications and saying, here you go. Like, you don't need to navigate our website, here's a document. And then it's hyperlinking you to any of the policies you would actually want to read, right? So what we tried to do was meld the official language and policy language in there, but meld it into a document where we can just send it to people. And that was kind of like the positive aspect I think Bick appreciated, and finding more ways to do that kind of thing, right? So the next document, then part of the conversation the board had, if you recall, was, well, what about internally, right? For staff and administrators, right? And we had talked about, hey, maybe we could find a way to try and ensure that people understand what the flow of the steps are internally in the organization, right? Even, so it's, again, kind of a similar notion. We have everything in policies and administrative procedures, but you have to like click and go to different spots. So this document begins with just an introduction of the actual board policy. If people want to read the full policy, again, we've linked it here, but this is the guiding language as to how we handle all of these matters. Then, as you go down, these are as straightforward as possible so that it's consumable, digestible, and easy for people to follow. These are the steps that would take place then. And then, so if there's a reporting form which needs to be completed, you see that form, there's the link, you click on it, and then the investigation begins, and then there's some notes that all staff and administrators can be reminded of, embedded in here. One of the, actually, Holly, stay there. If you look at 2D, 2D was actually part of BIC's feedback back in the fall when they said, hey, a counselor is trained to be a safe person, but a student may not necessarily say, I designate that person as my safe person, right? So we wanted to make it clear that if a student feels like there's a safer adult for them or a more comfortable adult for them to support them in that meeting or conversation, all attempts will be made to meet that request. There are sometimes, and again, whether it's because of the situation or if literally the teacher, if it's a teacher, is teaching their class, we may not be able to pull, and then if the student says, I really need to share my complaint now, that could be a difficult timing perspective wise, but, and then sometimes depending on what the potential, situation is, it might require that an adult cannot be in the room, depending on how severe the case may have been, or situation may have been. Again, those are some of the factors, but we wanted to make note of this reminder so that it is in there, and it's very clear to staff and to the administration, this is an expectation. Okay? And then,
I have a question
Oh, yeah.
about that. So it says, maybe request to have an adult. So are we saying, just so I'm clear, any adult, like, let's say I have a niece that goes to a school. I mean, I'm not part of, let's say I'm not a board member either. So I'm just an aunt of this niece, don't work in the district. And they say, I would really like to have my aunt come in. Or are we saying it has to be a Batavia staff member?
The intent would be a staff member.
Okay.
In order to help us move that process as quickly as possible, given that we are pretty under tight timelines. So it would be, that's why typically, if a social worker or a counselor are available, but, we took into consideration that feedback and
I just wanna make it clear, like, so people don't say, well, you said.
That's actually good feedback
You
for us to
said-
consider.
It just says
Yep.
adult.
Clarity.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
I like it, yeah.
More clarifying language.
because there's a logic that the
I made a note.
staff person.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Trained to manage the process, be at least somewhat aware of it.
Right.
Or have resources available to become trained if they are selected, because you can't force Auntie Raquel to go through training to help them go through the process.
Right.
Yeah.
Holly, can you scroll down? Thank you. All right, so then, we had talked about specific sets of questions and how we would make sure that there's some consistency to the process and the flow. So we've linked those here. But again, there is a reminder because every single situation has its own independent variables from case to case. So while we have general parameter questions, which here would be linked, the investigator sometimes has to kind of move with where the complaint is taking them, right? In order to get to the heart of what's happening here and learn all the details that might be impactful to the case. And then we have our conclusion, and that will be the final step. And this is another part of what we shared in the fall. Restorative practices is obviously one of our most preferred ways of trying to resolve conflicts between peers or really anybody in the district. And just a reminder though that we can't force restorative practices when a party is not willing to participate in that. Otherwise, from a training perspective that I've received about restorative practices, that just doesn't work at that point. So we would probably have to default then to more traditional measures. But having said that, we're always looking to do that. One of the other things we shared in the fall, the board approved that contract where we're using counseling services now and being able to bring in supports when there are situations, so that economics of a family situation are no longer a barrier for families and students to receive this kind of support if there's something going on in the school, right? And so we'll be able to call them, the counselors will come to the school site. And because they're local to us, they can be there pretty quickly. So that's a huge benefit. And again, that's something you approved in the fall, so.
Couple questions. So for restorative practices, about percentage-wise, how many parties choose to do restorative practice versus they don't want to be a part of it? Do you know?
I don't know that data off the top of my head.
And then the second thing, let's say we decide, like, the parties decide restorative practices, do we do that, or does that counseling party do
Most
that?
of the time, we try and do it first.
Okay,
And then if it's maybe requires some outside support, serious situation, or there's multiple parties involved, we may need that extra support. But typically, our teams will try to handle that internally. All right. So does the board feel like this is heading us in the right direction? I mean, is this kind of based on your February discussions and the things that we've tried to visualize to help our stakeholders? I mean, is this kind of moving us in that needle? Because we still have the flow chart posted that Holly and Brad worked on. We have that, and it's not going to replace it. We're looking at the and factor, right? So like we have that there. Now we've got the parent guide. We're going to, we'll need to format this so it's kind of like a little sharper, right? We'll sharpen it up when it's
Did
ready.
they
to
give
be
the
published.
feedback on the flow chart? Did you guys do that during BIC?
Yes, so we, that was a part of the conversation that we had, back in the fall.
No, like, we looked at the flow chart last month, and then you guys were gonna show it to Beck and get their feedback.
Did we go over the flow
No,
chart?
we spent all of our time on this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't that going to be done?
I don't recall the flow chart component, but
No?
I don't remember.
I remember specifically at BIC being, I mean, I know we were talking about it, I can't remember if we said that we presented to BIC.
Right, because we were talking about stakeholders, and you guys were said that BIC was coming up, and that's where you were going to have that discussion of the flow chart. Because I was asking who was gonna utilize it and whatnot.
Danielle,
Yeah,
I was so focused on getting us these manuals and guides, because the conversation was the flow chart wasn't meeting the steps that you guys were looking for. That's why we had pivoted to these two particular documents.
I think everyone's feedback was that it was good. I was the only one that had concerns about who was using it and that's why I was like, can we get stakeholders, like students and student, staff, parents, and that's where I was like, oh, well, we're gonna have a group of stakeholders here on that Saturday, they could take a look at it. So
I
what
can
do we-
still engage them. I
Yeah.
can still engage them.
I think my question still, this is helpful, I'm sure, and especially if you got feedback from BIC that you're implementing. I would personally like to take a little more time. I did not take a dive into it. I'm kind of like scrolling through the books. I love the links, that's wonderful, and it's kind of like easy to follow along.
Pretty digestible.
That's great, yeah. I think when we were talking about some of the stuff too, was like for our students, like making sure that everybody understands what's happening, what they should expect. And I know this is kind of more towards parents. So, if we have the flow chart, should we still ensure that people are finding it helpful? Where we also and this? So I'm a little like confused where the flow chart review didn't happen, because that was the bulk of that conversation. I don't think we talked about, this is great, like, I'm not trying to be like, this is not great, but.
Yeah, I took away from the conversation that this was a big part of it, trying to figure out how to expand those a bit. I'm just saying what I.
I don't
what
remember
took away.
talking about that we would have a document in place. I love it. Don't get me, I love this. Also, I don't want an and without addressing the actual flow chart that we said was going to be used for everybody.
All right, well, I already have a spot that we can easily place student voice in the feedback of this. Dr. Smith is going to be kind of holding her final summit meeting with her principal advisory group. And she's reached out to me asking, are there some superintendent level items that I'd like to see what her student leaders would like some feedback on? So this could definitely be one of them. Comes up next month, I believe. So,
So what are we using the flow chart for then?
well, originally, the flow chart was created and designed to try and help convey the step-by-step process that the board, you all were asking us to kind of try and create like a infographic of some sort. And again, that's why if I misunderstood, that is my apologies. I took away from our last board meeting that the flow chart wasn't enough, and that there were more step-by-step design. That's why the conversation went into like, when I had read some of the administrative procedures, if you guys recall, and I said it's linked into our board policies and administrative procedures, and it kind of provided the steps everyone was looking for, but then the conversation became, that's a hard place to expect parents to navigate. Right, and that's why I kind of took that charge from the board as, all right, let's look at ways then we can create communication tools to help make it easier to digest and consume, to Brad's point, like a parent manual and guide being right there when, especially, if you're undergoing a situation, an unfortunate situation, that you have a resource right there instead of having to navigate our website and figure out which policy they have to follow and then what procedure, you have this manual in front of you. But if there was more feedback on that's my miss then. But I can find a way to get back to those parents to get the feedback, but we still have an opportunity to get our student feedback. Because we haven't even had student feedback on this yet, because there hasn't been a good opportunity for that at this point.
Yeah, maybe this is not part of that conversation, maybe in our workshop, but I think we've talked about when we leave board meetings, having action items, so that we're all on the same page, because I know what my intentions were, and I feel like my communication was pretty clear. I don't recall ever deviating from the flow chart itself. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd love personally to take a little bit more time to just like look through it, because I really haven't been able to digest it. I love the idea of an and, I love ands. And like I said, I love the way this is put together, and I think it definitely takes out like it allows that layman's term so that anybody looking, and then they can dive into the bullying policy. I think that's what we talked about, like with links and all of that. I would like to ensure that students have something that is very easy to follow along with as well. And I have not looked at this like next to the flow chart to see like, are we hitting all the same spots that the flow chart did
Well,
have?
and I think that's my takeaway from it, is I like where you put it of an and, right? Like, the flow chart can only do so much because of its simplistic intent on
Visual.
relating information in visuals.
Yeah.
So this was, and I think what I took away from the meeting is, the flow chart maybe is settling in on what it needs to be as a high-level understanding of it, but if you gotta dig in of like, how does a parent consume the process? That's where this came up, and are there, like, what is an example of the form that might get filled out so that a parent can kind of see that? I vaguely remember that as a part of the conversation too. So I think it's an and thing, and so I think, Tom, like you're saying is, I'm trying to get to like the action items you're talking about, is like if you're going to bring it to Dr. Smith about the flow chart, get their impression as an overarching thing, and then anything about this that they might do, and then find a way to feed back to a couple other, BIC groups, or send it out for comment to the BIC group, even if there's not a meeting per se.
No, the parents are very responsive on their emails, and I can do that too.
I just remember on part of the flow chart, like, and I don't remember what part was saying, like, you're notified, here's the link, right, to like the letter that you would get, or here's the link to the steps. And I remember saying that, in the flow chart, like at a step, if there is like a link or like to the policy, click here for the policy.
Right.
And then after 10 days, whatever. I remember wanting to be hyperlinks or like,
Yeah.
and I don't know if these would be part of the flow chart hyperlinks.
Well, it would, because your comment was that you wanted to make sure that the principles were all aligned to the changes that were being made and being implemented consistently. And Danielle, for you, the comment I had taken note of was that, coming out of our bullying discussions, feedback from others is that there was a need to know more about the process. And so that's why I thought these guides were going to meet kind of what the whole board collectively was looking for in each of your processes, because RJ had said something similar to you, and what he was saying was, what are the step-by-step processes, and can those be shared somehow in a format? So I think that's why we were looking at the flow chart alone was not a good enough standalone document, and that's why we pursued these particular aspects to see if we could try and reach both the internal group because of some comments, and then the external group, so. But, again, I mean, by all means, we can still get all this feedback. If I missed from what we wanted to do with the flow chart, yeah.
Yeah, I think these are an and, like you said, absolutely. Like, to me, in my head, this is just my head, the flow chart's I'm not involved in a process, I'm not actively being bullied, I just need to know, I want some awareness of, in case it ever happens, of these are the steps it might go through. But like, if you get involved in the process, and these are kind of a way to help you navigate that if your child is involved in bullying in some way, shape, or form.
I thought a flow chart I think could go either way, where, hey, yeah, it's here available, you can always look at it, it's a quick visual. But it's also nice to have something quick at your fingertips as like we were talking about being like emotional, right? This is great, but like it's gonna take me personally, if I'm like, oh my gosh, my kid, I'm not gonna flip through like documents. A visual is easier for me to take in, right? I will eventually go here for sure, but like as something's happening, I need to know when, what do I do right now? My kid just came home, blah, blah, blah. I think that flow chart, that visual is super helpful in the moment as well. As well as like, hey, I can look at it if I'm on my HCS website, right? And it's there all the time, all year. I may look at it, probably not, but I may. But I think that's the and I mean, I just want to go back to my point that I was trying to make, was that I want to ensure the people who are utilizing this are like, yes, this is helpful. Yes, this makes sense to me, because, Kids need to understand where they're going, how they're doing it, what they should expect, because not every kid is going home and telling their parents or their guardians, I was bullied today, or I reported this, and I know that from people who are, I mean, they have such a close relationship, but kids just, they're doing what they're doing, and like, there's like, I didn't even know that this happened. But the kids need to know what to expect, because sometimes the parents don't even know that it's happening. So I just want to make sure that students understand, parents understand, and that it's what works for them, not for us necessarily. Like, not, my point of view is not as important as all of the other stakeholders.
Understood, understood. And I think that's what Tom's talking about with his follow-up meetings, is starting that process.
I thought we were going to have the flow chart reviewed, though.
I understand
Right.
what you thought was going to happen, and it didn't get a chance to get happened for whatever reason, so I think he's trying to get it caught up. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I'm just looking at my minutes, my notes from our board discussion. So I must have misunderstood that particular aspect of the conversation about the flow chart. Because everyone started diverging into process discussion, and that's why we started focusing on how do we make the process more clear for people and easier to access. So I don't think we're far off, to be honest with you. Because I get it, and so we can see what the feedback looks like. I know from the big perspective, the parents were very supportive of these particular manuals. They thought it was good, it was informative, and they agreed. Trying to go into board policy really isn't exactly the parent, like, intuitive thing to do. So they were appreciative of that. And then I think us having the students take a look at all of those and then including the flow chart. And then I just made a note that I'll work on a communication with Vic about the flow chart. Okay. That was the only board matters item that we needed to follow up on this. You guys have any? All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. All right, administration comments. Tom, is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah. All right, so, as we continue our journey, guided by our new strategic plan, I think we often focus on our continuing area of growth and improvement. Tonight, I just wanted to take a quick moment to reflect on the outstanding achievements and the immense pride that I think a lot of our staff, you heard it here tonight in the presentation and celebration, that our staff takes in what they do with our students and what's happening in BPS 101. Just to begin with, every board member tonight should have received a state runner-up medal and a state pass as a token of appreciation from our football program. The coaching staff and the students are very appreciative of the fact that the board continues to support all extracurricular activities. I've had a discussion with students and staff from the program, and I know they know that none of this ever happens without, at the operational and governing level, the board supporting these things for our kids and for our adults to do that work. One of the other many bright spots in our district, as you may have seen, is Batavia High School's recognition with the College Board AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award. This honor highlights the commitment that we've been making to expanding our opportunities and representation in STEM and those types of classes and career pathways, which are underrepresented in that field. Congratulations to all our students and our teachers and the administration for fostering an inclusive environment and trying to be as forward-thinking as possible. I am also thrilled to celebrate 3 outstanding educators in our district. I want to bring attention and recognize Lisa Hatfield, Monica Hubble, and Heather Mandel, who have been nominated for King County Educator of the Year in their respective categories. This recognition is a testament to their passion, dedication, and the profound impact that they have had on our students and our entire school district community. So kudos to them. The ceremony or the evening event takes place in May, and I'll make sure, board, if you're interested in attending, we'll make sure you get that invitation. Beyond the classroom, BPS 101 continues to showcase its excellence in creativity and innovation. As you saw from our student presentation, we had a huge event recently at Batavia High School. My youngest daughter and I had the privilege of attending Rock the Runway at BHS, and we were absolutely amazed by the artistry, professionalism, and just the ingenuity of the event. My daughter could not stop saying every time she was recording everything, "What? Whoa, Dad! look, you know, I mean, she was just, like, you can hear her comments, her sisters were making fun of her when came home and was playing it for them. But in all seriousness, it was an amazing event, and you would never think that that was pulled off by students. It felt like a professional runway.
Did you know that
event.
they don't use fabric? That, I
Yeah.
just found that out from my friend.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
They-
That's the whole
and-
point of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's
That
crazy,
is
right?
amazing.
Yeah. And so it was just a stunning event, and just a special thanks to Miss Emily Smith and all of our staff and our talented students for putting on such a remarkable show. And it has become such an event that other school districts in our region are starting to take notice and have been going to it to start seeing what they can bring to their schools and their districts. And they've been picking her brain to see how they could start it. So I just think that speaks volumes to the level of talent and innovation that's happening in our programs and schools. Engagement with our families remains a priority, and just a huge thanks and shout out to Hoover Wood and HC Storm for inviting me personally to the evenings that they were hosting their literacy events. Great opportunity for them to bring their school communities together. One other thing I want to bring your attention to, an informal attention, is that the district will continue to expand its Boys and Girl Club partnership. We will be bringing the program to the east side of our school district and continue to expand the work. I'm not going to give you any more details because Holly's working on our formal announcement, so I promised her I wouldn't steal too much of the thunder, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to highlight just the continuing efforts of our teams here. Additionally, our special education team and parent volunteers continue to be a pillar of support for students and families. I believe I've mentioned this to you in my weekly update, but I thought I should share this in this public space. The Batavia Special Education Parent Network continues to support our resource fair, and that is put together by parent volunteers, staff here in our district, and the leadership in this district. And this year brought in over 55 community organizations to ensure that all of our students and families have services and have extra supports that they can have to, be a part of the school's climate and culture and community. And so I just continue to think the level of collaboration that exists here continues to make BPS 101 just a unique place to be. And then listening and learning from all of our stakeholders is obviously critical to our progress. And this year, as you've heard, BIC held its final meeting, and I just want to say one last time, a huge thanks to all those parents, the parent leaders, who have continued to provide their valuable insights and have directly influenced our district's work. They suggested communication adjustments to our administrative procedures, which we have enacted. That was shared with them on Saturday. They were thrilled to hear that and very grateful that their voices were heard. And I think in terms of the feedback that we continue to use them for, especially the work we just discussed under Board Matters, that is always going to be an ongoing piece of work. And so we're very excited, and I continue to look forward to working with BIC and ensuring that they are a part of our shaping of the work and the vision for BPS 101. So, on a final note, I often say that while we're not maybe perfect, we're always striving for excellence. And as superintendent, I feel very fortunate that every day I get to see evidence of this in the district. I want to thank my team, who allows me the ability to get out and see the work that's happening across the district, while they're taking care of a lot of the work that makes this district continue to move forward. So a huge thanks to all of my team members and teammates. And I want to say thank you to all of our educators, our staff, and our families and students for being part of the journey and the work that we're heading towards right now. I think the work we do together matters. I'm incredibly proud to stand alongside all of you in making sure that we're shaping that vision to meet what's outlined in our strategic plan. And I also want to say thank you to the board for your continued support, your faith, and our discussions in how we continue to raise the level of accountability and good service towards our students. So that's all I have. I know it was a little lengthier than normal, but there was a lot to share. It's been a busy month.
All right. Board comments, do I have any volunteers to kick it off? Otherwise, I'll call a name. All right, Rob, thank you.
Thank you to Ms. Buttles for giving us the update on the career counseling services at the high school. I can't remember, I may have shared this story before, but I did have a couple social events and on 3 different occasions, and I had conversations with people that specifically highlighted the career counseling services at the high school. And I'll say in at least one instance specifically, Ms. Buttles' help in a particular situation. So appreciated that, and I think I shared that with Brad and Tom, and so I appreciate having her come in and talk about some of the work that goes on there. So thank you on that. So I do want to say thank you, Tom. Congratulations on the renewal of your, or yeah, I guess renewal of the contract.
Your stuff.
And I just wanted to share a few points on my motivation for voting for that contract. One, I think Tom's engagement with the community has been outstanding. I joke with him quite frequently. I'm not, he must have a clone or something because he seems to be at like many different events, seemingly at the same time. But, so that community engagement, school engagement, parent engagement, I think, is one of the reasons that I wanted to extend the contract, or I voted to extend the contract. The other thing is, I think a key part of being a leader is the mentoring. And then, so he, you know, he thanked his team here in his comments, but I think he's also doing a good job of trying to develop them and get them ready for maybe their potential next roles. And I think that's a very important part of the job. So that was another thing I was looking for, and I think in my opinion, I've seen that, his mentorship to his team, and not only to his team, but other leaders as well within the district. And then, and probably the most important thing is we developed a 5-year strategic plan. And I think he has earned the right to execute on that plan. So this contract extension will give him that opportunity. And he mentioned accountability. I don't believe he's afraid of the accountability. And so I want to see, I think we want to see, you know, that execution of that strategic plan and how it's going to improve the district, help improve our community, help improve our students as well. So just wanted to share that as my motivation. And then finally, have a great spring break, everyone. It's coming up. And for the March Madness fans, go Illini. So, Friday night, first game. So thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
All right, Raquel.
All
it's
right,
you.
yeah, I don't have that much. Just happy National Women's History Month. Happy Librarians Day coming up preemptively, and then have a healthy and safe spring break.
I want to echo a lot of what Rob and Raquel said. I also want to recognize Dr. Smith at the high school. I thought Tom was going to get to us, but he didn't. But she announced 74 Illinois State Scholars for Batavia. Rob's daughter Julia was one of those recognized. So we're very proud of them. I got to participate in a lot of events. I was at the big meeting. I've been at the last two, and I just, there's been a lot said about that meeting. I just want to say what I appreciated is the engagement of those parents were fully engaged. They're there at 8 o'clock on a Saturday. These are already people that volunteer probably hundreds of hours in addition to their regular lives in the service of our students. And from my perspective, it was Brad's team gave a good presentation, but the leaders in the community were doing most of this talking, I thought. And I thought, in my view, everybody contributed, which in a big group like that can be rare sometimes. So I just really appreciate everybody that contributes their time and skill and insight to help the district improve. I got to go to a couple trivia nights. The BEA trivia night was a lot of fun. Miss Van Zandt, she not only has a talent for reviewing facilities, she can throw a great trivia night too. She ran the J.B. Nelson one. That was a lot of fun. Didn't win either one of them. I was on the losing teams in both of those, but we had a lot of fun. And I do want to echo what Rob was saying about Mr. Kim. I want to just add one thing. The thing when I see Tom or his clone, whoever you're with that day, is how much he interacts with the kids. It always stuns me. And I was at
H.C. Storm, their literacy night, and he showed up and he knows the kids, or he's at the high school, he's at the football game, or he's at Rock the Runway. And how many kids he seems to have a relationship, or at least they know him, he knows them on a first name basis. So he cares about kids, and that is really what we're trying to do here is, give kids the chance to develop their skills so they can have success. So I'm excited about the future with Mr. Kim leading us. And then I want to share a very personal thing is, I've often said, like, people will not really remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And we're doing a little spring cleaning in the Kilberg household. And I have a 15-year-old son, Jake, who I love dearly. But he's pretty, to get more than 3 words out of him is kind of a challenge some days. And his room was in a little disarray, and he had a sort of corner of his drawer that was sort of just looked like junk to me. There was all kinds of stuff in there. And he's cleaning up, and he's bringing a garbage bag down. Then he walks over to my wife, Kathleen, and I, and he hands us this piece of paper. And it was in pristine condition. And I'm just going to read it here. This is actually a copy because this is actually put in a place of honor in our house. But it says, "Dear Jake, as I look at how much you have grown from the first day of school until now, it makes me so proud of you. You have worked very hard and it has really paid off. I loved having you in class. Your smile brightens a room. I especially love how kind you are to your friends. Keep reading and practicing your math this summer. IXL and extra math are 2 great ways to do that. Have a great summer. I'll see you in August when you are a 2nd grader. Love, Mrs. Kuhn." And when he gave that to us, he was standing there with pride. And this is 10 years old. This is probably the only piece of paper he has in his room that's not crumbled up. So obviously this meant a lot to him. I actually had a chance to see Mrs. Kuhn shortly after that. And it really touched her heart. And so I just told her, reading and writing, obviously that's very important, but letting those kids know that you care about them and you see them. And I know she's not alone. Many, many, many of our educators are doing very similar work. So I just want to say thank you to all the educators for caring about her kids, seeing them, recognizing them, and making them feel loved, as she said in her letter. So I want to just say thank you to her. And then again, I just want to say enjoy a safe and relaxing spring break. When we get back, life moves very fast. And the next thing you know, we'll be at commencement in NIU. So to all those senior parents, I have a lot of them. Just take it one day at a time and try to soak it in because it does go very fast. That's all I have. Oh, one last thing. Happy birthday to my father, Dean Kilberg. He turns 76 today, so I'll say that to him too.
Happy birthday, Mr. Kilburn.
Danielle.
I do not have, I guess, much to share, beyond, you guys said it really well. One thing that the ambassadors brought up was the show choir. So I actually went to that last night. RJ's daughter is like BFFs with my daughter, so we went to go cheer her on. Amazing. Like, I'm floored by all of these kids. I mean, even the middle schoolers, like, I know they're going to grow up even much more, but watching them from their last performance just a year ago to this was like phenomenal. And the high schoolers, I mean, this is like watching one of those like High School Musical shows. It was just, and one of our own ambassadors was up there too. Kaya's up there and she has solos. It was amazing. Amazing. I was floored. I mean, I was like getting teary with some of these like songs and stuff. They just do such a great job and they're all cheering each other on, especially like the younger kids. So it was really cool to watch that. And I know there's so much going on, Rock the Runway, just so much pride. And then as Aaron kind of touched on, Storm had their literacy night, which is it's a family favorite at Storm. I think that most of the families I know attend in one way or another. We dragged my 7th grader along with us, and she got to see some of her old teachers and all that, but it's just such a fun way. It's the one book, one school, so everyone's reading the same book. They're having these same conversations. They had like a live skunk there. It was just because the book deals with the skunk, and as a pet,
A brown skunk.
yeah, but it was like, and it was educational because they actually showed you a map of like what states it's legal to have a skunk pet in, and like this and that, and like what they like eat and all this shit. It was really, really cool, and the kids just have so much fun doing it. So I appreciate the community time and being able to be part of that. But other than that, I echo everyone else. Have a safe spring break.
Sue? You can keep it short, too.
I was told not to say about, no, I'm good.
I'm just gonna say thank you to everybody for all the work that they do, administration, fellow boards, everybody else. One thing I was gonna say, I'm gonna add on, pile on, Tom, so I hope your head can get out the door, is I talked to
We'll
Tom.
humble him.
Yeah, you hump him, it's a double door.
I'll see him tomorrow morning.
Not with that wrecking crew over
You'll
there.
solve
I'll
it,
be fine.
good, good.
We have
I
John.
talked to Tom probably once or twice a day, no, about every other day or so. And I don't think I've met anybody that kind of cares more about what, you know, the kids in the district and kind of making sure he's in touch with everybody and trying to understand and do the right thing, you know? And we all have different avenues and different angles, and so we're doing it with the right heart and the right mind, and at least I very much appreciate that, so. So I'm happy to have you stuck with us for the next number of years, so.
Stuck with me.
Yeah, it's both, road goes both ways, doesn't it? So, and then, just, you know, I've said many times before in these meetings about the kids doing these shows and everything else, and like the Rock the One Way, I have not been to very many of them, but I just remember, because I think when did they start that?
Ever since I've been on the board, I know.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but
12
it's
years.
kind of like seeing
16 years.
16 years, yeah. So like year over year of kind of how it just continually tops itself with what these kids do
Amazing.
is just kind of amazing. I mean, we're getting into pro level stuff here. And, yeah, and I wish all the bands and everybody else having fun enjoying, you know, the year. And as everybody said, blink of an eye, it'll be graduation and everybody will be focusing on other things. So enjoy your time you have with your kids. Mine are home one at a time over the next 2 weeks. And then my wife and I are going away on our own little spring break. So it's going to be a very busy couple of weeks in the Meadows household. So, all right, thank you, everybody. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Who was that? Raquel?
Second.
Second by Sue. All in favor?
Aye.